Hey everybody, Aaron Mack, BS detector, and I just finished the third part of reading Zionism, a basic reader, and totally forgot that I did not turn my mic on. So sorry if it's a little quiet. We're not going through all that again because I literally put myself in the worst mood yesterday trying to fight with YouTube about uploading the second part of the reading because it was very heavy on the word JEW and Shmianism and Shmianist. And so I think that their AI, whatever, detected too many quote unquote controversial words in that video, and it would not freaking upload. So I basically used the small amount of space that I had left. It was only like maybe 30 minutes on my phone. And buddy, I had to offload so many apps, delete so much crap, so many photos and stuff from my, my pictures and everything that like, I think maybe I had like 30 minutes of space or something. I don't know. So anyways, we're going to get right on back into it. This is part 4 of reading Zionism, a basic reader. And this is out of their own mouths, okay? So just remember, if their lips are moving, they're probably lying. And, I just also want to say as a caveat, I don't hate all Jays, okay? Because a lot of them have done a lot of good work exposing their own freaking people. And what is a J anyway? Is it a nationality? Is it a religion? And I think that's where the murky waters begin, because technically they are Eastern European, of Eastern European descent. They're like Turkic Mongols from the steppes of the Caucasus Mountains. Ergo, they are the true Caucasians, okay? But a lot of people wrongly just think all white people are Caucasian. No, nay, my friend. Most white people are actually like Anglo-Saxon, or like, what do they call the freaking French? The Huguenots or something? I don't know. Anyways, but let's get on with this. Okay, so this next chapter is called Recognition and Restitution by Abba Hillel Silver. The movement to reconstitute the Jayish Commonwealth in Shmalistine is not a recent movement. It did not begin with modern Shmianism, nor with the first Shmianist colonies, which were established in Shmalistine 65 years ago. The ideal of a national restoration dates from the year of destruction of Jerusalem and of the temple in the year 70 AD. Bro, no. They're not the same people, okay? Like I just said, these people are Turkic Mongols, like they're Asiatic. They're from the steppes of Caucasus. They are not Judeans in the least, okay? And everybody's like, well, Aaron, the word J-E-W comes from the word Judean. No, it does not. It truly does not. It comes from the practice of the religion of Judaism, which is the practice of Talmud. It has nothing to do with Old Testament or Torah or anything of the sort. That's how they've muddied the waters. They've lied to the Christian church. And now the church has so many bullshit doctrines based on these bullshit lies from these people. And so that's what my channel is all about, right? Is detecting the bullshit. Okay, so anyways, and just to go back to like AD 70, all the genealogies were destroyed. So nobody knows who anybody is, all right? And they act like, they've been keeping genealogies. No, bro, they were all destroyed with the temple in 70 AD. Okay, let's get that fact through our heads. Anyways, throughout the following centuries, the hope of rebuilding their national home was never absent from among our people. Modern Shmianism is only the latest expression of that undeviating will to national restoration which has persisted throughout the ages. For 15 centuries, and more prior to the time of the Great Dispersion, the Jewish people lived in Palestine as a nation, undergoing all the changing political vicissitudes which all nations, large or small, are bound to experience over a long period of time. Lies. My BS detector is going, meh, 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 meh. Like, you guys aren't, y'all don't even go here. You're not from Palestine, okay? You're freaking white people. Turkic, Asiatic, Mongols. At that, a very warlike people, as evidenced still today by the fact that our military is being used to do their dirty work. Anyways, wake up, Christians, wake up. Anyways, okay. During some of those centuries, they made their greatest contribution to civilization in the religious field. They gave the Bible to the world and formulated the great spiritual and ethical ideas of mankind. In Palestine and from the Jewish nation came both Judaism and Christianity. No, Judaism is not the study of Torah. It's the study of Talmud. So you guys didn't contribute shit to anything. Whenever disaster threatened their national existence, they found strength to surmount it. The destruction of the first temple in the 6th century BC and the exile of the best part of Israel to Babylonia did not result in the death of the nation. By the rivers of Babylon, they sat down and wept as they remembered Zion. And their exile they vowed, quote, "If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, may my right hand forget her cunning," end quote. In the second pre-Christian century, the Jews revolted against their Syrian overlords and regained their political independence. A century later, they lost it again to the Romans. When the oppression of the Romans became too great, they revolted again. This great revolt lasted for 6 years until 70 AD, when the Jerusalem and the temple were destroyed. But the Jewish nation did not perish then. In the year 115, the Jewish people revolted again, and in 135 they revolted a third time. Determinedly, they resisted the greatest empire of the earth in defense of their national life and liberties. Right. In the following centuries, and as a result of persecution, Jewish life in Palestine, sharply declined from its high levels. But it continued in relatively large scale up to the 7th century, when again, hear of the Jews fighting for their freedom. Jews clung to Palestine all through Roman, Byzantine, Arab, Christian, and Turkish domination to this very day. Nah. These are all lies. These people fucking just lie. And they have zero freaking qualms with literally making up an entire history, okay? Which is making me question even the Old Testament. I'm wondering, did they make that shit up? Anyways. Quote, throughout the ages, even in the darkest periods of the Crusades, the protracted wars of the Middle Ages, and in modern times, the Jews never entirely left the soil of Palestine, end quote. Now, see, this is not true, okay? These people were Eastern European, before even Eastern Europe was a thing, before Russia was a thing, they were what are called Khazars, okay? And their ruler was the Bulan, I think was his name, and they were so disgusting and some of their practices so utterly grotesque that even their own king was disgusted with them. And so he made them choose between Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, all right, which maybe then was the study of Torah, but no, I don't think so. I think Talmudism is what it is and is what it has been, right? So, this is bullshit. This is the bullshit. This is the whole reason for this channel, is to detect bullshit and call it out. Because these people they were not from Palestine. They were, and I think that's what we're gonna read next, is that called the 13th tribe by Arthur Kessler, because the Jays or the Judeans or the Hebrews or whatever in the Bible, there were 12 tribes, okay? These freaking Khazars are why, hence the title of this book called the 13th tribe, because they're not Judean, they're not Hebrew in any sense of the word. They're Khazars. But they've deceived the whole world into thinking that they're the same people from the Bible, and they are not. Anyways, okay. They never surrendered the hope that someday they would rebuild their national life there in Schmalestein. The bitter experiences of 2,000 years of exile, outlawry, ghettos, and massacres only served to reinforce that hope. Sure, Jan. The effort to return to Schmalestein was unremitting through the ages. The living bond with Schmalestein was never broken. The hope of return became part of the Jay's creed. It echoed through the pages of his prayer book. His festivals were redolent of memories of hopes of Schmalestein. Were they, though? The messianic hope which sustained the spirits of our people throughout the bleak centuries was essentially the hope of Yasharel's return to Schmalestein. All through the Middle Ages, when traveling was most difficult and dangerous, Jays found ways, singly or in groups, to return to Schmalestein. I don't believe any of this. This is fucking bullshit. In the 19th century, this age-old national aspiration finally entered the phase of political organization and practical action. Orthodox rabbis and lay leaders, moved by convictions both religious and national, were among the first to advocate planned and concerted colonization projects to Schmalestein. A strong urge towards political action for national emancipation came also from the circles of Jays of Western Europe, who had become disillusioned with the results of 19th century Enlightenment and emancipation. Yeah, they were mad because they couldn't subvert and overtake all of Europe, which is what they were trying to do. But I mean, now they have. Now they've completely taken it over. Europe's pretty much dead. I mean, the Irish, the fighting Irish, baby, that's like the only ones that are literally not putting up with the fucking BS over there. All right. A strong urge towards political action for national emancipation also came from the circles of Jays of Western Europe, who had become disillusioned with the results of the 19th century Enlightenment and emancipation. Sudden and violent outbursts of anti-Shemitism in unexpected places forced upon these Jays, who had so sanguinely awaited the early liquidation of the Jayish problems, the necessity of taking stock of their position anew. It's not anti-Shemitism because you guys aren't Shemites. You have to be a descendant of Shem to be a Shemite. And it looks like Ashkenaz, who is a son of Japheth, okay, is like, if you're descended from anybody in the Bible, that's who you're descended from, not Shem. They realized that the problem of the national homelessness of the Jayish people was the principal source of the Jayish millennial tragedy, and that it remained as stark and as menacing as ever. It simply could not be circumvented by wishful thinking or pleasant daydreaming. These Jays began to look for the basic solution of the problem, and they soon discovered it. Fundamentally, the root of all the trouble was that the Jayish people was a national homeless people in the world, and the only solution for national homelessness is a national home. Great thinkers from among the intellectual circles of westernized Europe, Jayuri, formulated this new insight and conviction. So they basically made up a bunch, they like created a fake history. They created this fake, I mean, it's not even a fake religion because they're literally acting on it. But, and people want to say that like the Pharisees were Talmudists. I don't know. I don't know about that. That is one thing that we'll have to look into and see whether that's bullshit or not. Okay, not that all Jays should return to Schmalestein any more than all Englishmen in all parts of the world should return to England, or all Frenchmen to France, or all Germans to Germany. Every nation today has many of its former nationals citizens of other countries. The Jays in other parts of the world will remain as heretofore loyal citizens of the country which will permit them to remain equal citizens of those countries. And the American Jays, who have served their country so faithfully both in peace and in war, intend to remain citizens of the United States, and their relationship with the Jayish Commonwealth will be no different from that of other American citizens with respect to their ancestral homes. No, because they get the benefit of dual citizenship, which should not be allowed, especially to these people, because they cannot be trusted to not lie and not subvert a culture. But just as there is in England, of France, and in Germany, there must be a land of Yasharel in order for the status of the Jewish people might be normalized throughout the world. Politically, the Jewish people as people must become, like every other people, possessed of an independent life in a national home. They had that. Eastern Europe was that. But because their religion was disgusting, they got kicked out of everywhere they went because they tried to subvert the culture and take over. People think, they act like, it's because we're God's chosen and everyone's jealous that we got kicked out of everywhere. No, bitch. That's not why. That is not why. It's because of the evil that you have done. Okay. Politically, the Jewish people as a people must become, like every other people, possessed of an independent life in a national home. In 1897, Theodor Herzl convoked the first Zionist Congress at Basel, Switzerland, where the official Zionist platform was adopted. The aim of Zionism is to create for the Jewish people a home in Palestine secured by public law. Within 20 years of the organization of modern political Zionism, the movement received formal approval at the hands of the greatest empire on earth, Great Britain. Is it really? Because I feel like the royals hold to the same practices that these Jays do. Satanic ritual abuse. On November 2nd, 1917, author James Balfour, then Secretary of State and Foreign Affairs, issued the famous declaration in the name of the British government. His Majesty's government views with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home. Note the term, quote, national, for the Jewish people and will use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievements of this object, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jays in any other country. Dude, Palestine was not Britain's to give to them. The Balfour Declaration, which represents a turning point in the history of the Jewish people, was not, as sometimes been represented, a purely British formulation of policy. No, it was not. It was for many months the subject of a long and earnest negotiation between principal Allied powers. In February and March of 1918, the French and Italian governments, respectively, issued parallel statements in support of the Balfour Declaration. I bet they did, because Zionist money is long money. Anyways, let's see. The President Wilson had followed the negotiations and had encouraged the issuance of that declaration, and our government insisted on having a hand in the drafting of the mandate. At a meeting of the Supreme Council of the Allied Powers held at San Remo in April of 1920, the Balfour Declaration was unanimously adopted and embodied in the mandate for Palestine, which was offered to Great Britain. Was it offered to them, and by whom, I wonder? On July 24, 1922, the Council of the League of Nations unanimously ratified the British mandate with the incorporated declaration as an integral part. That same year, the Congress of the United States adopted the resolution which has been read to you this morning. Resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled, the United States of America favors the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done, etc. And then occurs the rest of the Balfour Declaration. The preamble to the mandate contains this significant clause, and I would like to call it to your attention. Whereas recognition has hereby been given to the historical connections of the Jewish people with Palestine and on the grounds for reconstituting their national home in that country. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. I don't even know what those asterisks mean, but whatever. There are the words of the preamble of the mandate. In other words, the creation or reconstruction of a Jewish homeland in Palestine was thus accepted as a world policy. It was also regarded as an act of restitution. It was a recognition both of the present need of the Jewish people and of the continuity of its claim to its homeland, a continuity unbroken by the vicissitudes of 2,000 years of history. I just got put on my ex-husband's, who's like my best friend in the whole entire world, got put on his whatever the Google AI is. And then as soon as like I get my finances in order, I'm definitely going to do the paid thing of ChatGPT, because I think her name is Nyara maybe, or Bella. I don't know what her name is, but she has a channel called Signal Before Silence. And she has done some awesome freaking research. She is like of Armenian descent. And if anybody knows like how horrible the Jays can be and all of the terrible things that have been done to them at the hands of Muslims and Jays, it's the Armenians. Okay. Anyways, The Jayish Right to Equality by David Ben-Gurion. Our case, it seems, to us is simple and compelling, and it rests on two elementary principles. One, that we Jays are not like other human beings, entitled to the same rights as every human being in the world. And we Jayish people are just like any other people, entitled to the same equality of treatment as any free and independent people in the world. The second principle is, this always has been and will remain our country. We are here as of right. We are not here on the strength of the Balfour Declaration or the Schmallenstein Mandate. Yes, the hell y'all are. If you hadn't double-crossed Germany in World War I and then played out your victimhood narrative in World War II, you would have never have been given this crap, okay? Be for real. Okay. And here he goes lying again. We were here long, long before. I myself was here before. Many thousands were here before me. And our people were here for centuries and millennia before that. Y'all are not the same people. God, I'm so sick of this. Okay. God, I mean, it's just so annoying, like, reading these lies out loud. Like, okay, I'm sorry. We're going to get through it. Our case, and I think you have just seen many such cases in Europe, is like that of the Jays who were forcibly expelled from their homes, which were then given to somebody else. I wonder why you were expelled from your homes. What did you do? I mean, you know, when the whole world can't stand you, there's a reason, and it's not jealousy, okay? Okay. Which were given to somebody else. Okay. Those homes changed hands, and then after the followers of the Austrian painter defeat, some Jewish owners came back and found their houses occupied. So they did the same thing to the Palestinians. Sorry, the Schmalestinians. In many cases, they were not allowed to return to their houses. To make it more exact, I shall put it this way. It was a large building, the building of our family, say 50 rooms. We were expelled from that house. Our family was scattered. Somebody else took it away, and again, it changed hands many times. And then we had to come back, and we found some 5 rooms occupied by other people, the other rooms destroyed and uninhabitable from neglect. We said to these occupants, quote, we do not want to remove you. Please stay where you are. We are going back into the uninhabitable rooms. We will repair them, end quote. And we did repair some of them and settled there. Is this like an analogy for what they've done to Schmalestein? Because they never inhabited Schmalestein. They inhabited the region of what is now called Eastern Europe. And I will prove that in the next book. But we have to get through this book of lies first. One reason for our return is the love of Schmayan. A deep, passionate love, strong as death. Yeah, because you're a death cult. The love of Schmayan. There is no parallel to that in all human history. It is unique, but it is a fact. You will see it there. There are 600,000 of us here because of that deep, undying love of Schmayan. Really? And evidence given to you in America, an American Arab, I believe it was John Hassan, said there was never a Schmalestein as political and geographical entity, and another American Arab, a great Arab historian, Dr. Hiddy, went even further and said, and I am quoting him, quote, there is no such thing as Schmalestein in history, absolutely not, end quote. Really? Old Bibles and their maps and old maps in general would agree to disagree with you. And he says, and I agree with him. Of course you do. Of course. Because you're going to agree with anybody that agrees with you and until they don't. And then you're going to try and kill them. I'm sorry, unalive them. Okay, anyways. I agree with him entirely. Oh, in quotation, and in, I'm sorry, parentheses, he says that that's not the only thing on which he agrees with the Arabs, in parentheses. Well, very interesting. I agree with him entirely. There is no such thing in history as Schmallenstein, absolutely. But when Dr. Hitty speaks of history, he means Arab history. He is a specialist in Arab history and he knows his business. In Arab history, there is no such thing as Schmallenstein. Arab history was made in Arabia, in Persia, and in Spain, and in North Africa. You will not find Schmallenstein in that history, nor was Arab history made in Schmallenstein. There is not, however, only Arab history. There is world history and Jewish history, and in that history there is a country by the name of Judea, or as we call it, Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel. We have called it Israel since the days of Joshua, the son of Nun, in which the quote-unquote homeland that they were promised to be delivered into, that Yahweh promised them, was fulfilled in the book of Joshua. It says it. But they have duped Christians into believing they never got their ancestral homeland. And so, you know, this whole thing is a huge pile of shit. Bullshit, that is. Anyways. Okay. We have called it Yasharel since the days of Joshua the son of Nun. There was such a country in history. There was and there still is. It is a little country, a very little country, but that little country made a very deep impression on world history and on our history. This country made us a people. Our people made this country. No other people in the world made this country. This country made no other people in the world. Now, again, we are beginning to make this country, and again, this country is beginning to make us. It is unique, but it is a fact. This country came into world history through as many wars, fought for its sake by Egyptians, Babylonians, Assyrians, Persians, Greeks, Romans, Byzantines, and others, but it was not these wars that gained its place. It gained its own place in history. Our country won its place in world history as not many other countries have done, even bigger and richer countries, for one reason only, because our people created here perhaps a limited but a very great civilization, which became the heritage of the whole of humanity. Fucking liar. This country shaped our people, the Jewish people, to make it what it has been from then until today. A very exclusive, very exclusive, supremacist, one might even say, people on one side and a universal people on the other. Very national and very international. Exclusive in its internal life and its attachment to its history. Made up history. To its national and religious tradition. Satanic and made up traditions. Very universal in its religious, social, and ethical ideas. We were told that there is one God in the entire world, but that's not true because the Bible says there is more than one. But there's only one Most High, and they say that it's their God, Yahweh, when it is not. That's not the Most High, okay, people? And there's like, I'm trying to like paint a big picture and like give you all these small pieces to the puzzle, and then we're going to like eventually put it all together right here on this channel, Aaron Mac BS Detector. Anyways, these were our ideas. This was our culture. And this was what won this country. It's a place in world history. We created here a book, many books. Many were lost, many remained only in translations, but a considerable number, some 24, remain in their original language, Hebrew, in the same language, Mr. Chairman, in which I am thinking now when I am talking to you in English. Bruh, that Hebrew language was made up in the 1800s by a guy named Eleazar Yitzhak Perlman. Okay, so let's cut the BS. Anyways, when we went into exile, we took that book with us. And in that book, which was more to us than a book, it was ourselves. We took with us our country and our hearts and our soul. There is such a thing as a soul, as well as a body. And these three, the land, the book, and the people, are one for us forever. It is an indissoluble bond. There is no material power which can dissolve it except by destroying us physically. If that's how you want it. I'm just kidding. But you know what they teach about the rest of us, Goyim? That we don't have souls, okay? So when they come to unalive us all, which is coming, I keep telling people about the Noahide laws. If you don't go along with it and worship their fake God or their lower God, Yahweh, you're gonna be unalived. Like, I'm just telling you. Okay, now there's a little section called the growth of the Arab population. We're going to read that. Asterisk, 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 in quotes. The Arabs cannot say that the Jays are driving them out of their country. If not a single Jay had come to Schmalestein after 1918, I believe the Arab population of Schmalestein would still have been around about the figure of 600,000, at which it had been stable under Turkish rule. It is because the Jays who have come to Schmalestein bring modern health services and other advantages that Arab men and women who would have been dead are alive today. I'm sorry, unalived are alive today. That Arab children who would never have been drawn breath have been born and grow strong. It is not only the Jays who have benefited from the Balfour Declaration. They can deny it as much as they like, but materially the Arabs in Schmalestein have gained very greatly from the Balfour Declaration, end quote. A statement by Mr. Malcolm MacDonald, British Secretary of State for the Colonies, Parliamentary Debates, House of Commons, November 24th, 1938. And now this is a case for the Jayish state by Andrei Gromyko. Or Gromyko. These names, bro. Okay. And did you know also that Satan Yahoo, his name was like originally an Eastern European name, like, God dang it, what was it? But he literally changed his name to Netanyahu. Like, all of these people have changed their names. They all have Eastern European, like Russian sounding last names because that's where they're fucking from. Anyways. But that's what they've done. They've created a whole language. They changed their names. They've created this whole, what do you mean? They've created this whole lore, if you will, about themselves and all of these fake backstories. That's why I'm starting to even question the Old Testament now at this point, because hell, I mean, do they make that shit up too? Because their little language, their little quote unquote Hebrew language, it's like a sigil magic language. Anyways, the case for a Jewish state. As is well known, the aspirations of an important part of the Jewish people are bound up with the question of Schmalestein and with the future structure of that country. It is not surprising, therefore, that both in the General Assembly and in the meetings of the political committee of the Assembly, a great deal of attention was given this aspect of the matter. This interest is comprehensible and completely justified. The Jewish people suffered extreme misery and deprivation during the last war. Did you? It can be said without exaggeration that the sufferings and miseries of the Jewish people are beyond description. No, I don't think so. I think what communism, which is a Jewish political system, has killed, or I'm sorry, unalived more Christians than there probably are Jays on the planet at this point. So let's be so for real. Okay. It would be difficult to express by mere dry figures the losses and sacrifices of the Jewish people at the hands of fascist occupiers, who were also Jewish. It's like you guys are on both sides of every stinking political ideology that exists. In the territories where the Austrian Painterites were in control, the Jays suffered almost complete extinction. No, you didn't. The total number of the Jays who fell at the hands of the fascist hangman is something in the neighborhood of 6 million. Is this where that lie started? Only about 1.5 million Jays survived the war in Western Europe, but these figures, which give an idea of the losses suffered by the Jayish people at the hands of the fascist aggressors, give no idea of the situation in which the great mass of the Jayish people find themselves after the war. Dude, so, like, there's so much coming out now that's like calling out this freaking 6 million lie for what it is. A great many, I mean, and for a long time, I think Red Cross numbers had it at like maybe 250,000, and that was because of starvation and weather, like the climate or whatever, because it was so cold, people froze to death. But you know, after that, I think it was something like 1 million Germans were left in a field to freeze and starve to death at the hands of the other side of the war. So there's a really good Instagram page, and I cannot think of the name of it, but he's got like literal videos of it. These like millions of Germans and some allies, and I guess maybe some of them, they were all prisoners of war. They were literally left in a freaking field to starve and freeze to the point of being unalived. That's how these Jays do people, okay? A great many of the Jays who survived the war in Europe have found themselves deprived of their countries, of their shelter, and of means of earning their livelihood. Yeah, because the people of that time knew what the hell you had done to Germany. But now history has been completely rewritten, so everybody really thinks that you guys were the victims. Hundreds of thousands of Jays are wandering about the various countries of Europe, seeking a means of livelihood and seeking shelter. A great many of these are in the camps for displaced persons, where they are continuing to suffer great privations. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. The experience of the past, particularly during the time of the Second World War, has shown that not one state of Western Europe has been in a position to give proper help to the Jayish people and to defend its interest or even its existence against the violence that was directed against it from the Austrian Painterites and their allies. Well, what did you do to Germany in the First World War that like pissed off the Germans so bad? You tried to starve them to death by boycotts and shit like that. So, yeah, I mean, fuck around and find out. The fact that not a single Western European state has been in a position to guarantee the defense of the elementary rights of the Jayish people or compensate them for the violence they have suffered at the hands of the fascist hangman explains the aspirations of the Jays for the creation of a state of their own. Compensate you for what exactly? Because you have stolen more now from the entire world. Like, what could you possibly, like, all of these memes about you being greedy and shit come from a real place, okay? God. It would be unjust not to take this into account and deny the rights of the Jayish people into the realization of such an aspiration. In analyzing the various types of plans for the future of Schmalestein, it is necessary first of all to take into account the specific aspect of this question. We must bear in mind the incontestable fact that the population of Schmalestein consists of two peoples, Arabs and Jays. Each of these has its historical roots in Schmalestein. No, the Jays do not. That country has become the native land of both these people, and both of them will occupy an important place in the country economically and culturally. Oh, do they? Is that why you're trying to like drive them out and like unalive them at rates like never seen before in history? Like you're literally committing a schminicide right this very second. But you guys are the victims. Always the victims. Oh. Anyways. And okay. Blah, 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 blah. Neither history nor the conditions which have arisen in Schmalestein now can justify any unilateral solution of the Schmalestein problem, either in favor of the creation of an independent Arab state, ignoring the lawful rights of the Jayish people, in favor of the creation of an independent Jewish state, ignoring the lawful rights of the Arab population. Neither of these extreme solutions would bring about a just settlement of this complex problem, first and foremost, since they all fail to guarantee the regulation of the relations between Arabs and Jays, which is the most important task of all. A just settlement can be found only if account is taken in sufficient degree of the lawful interest of both peoples. Okay, let's see when this little chapter ends here. Okay, I'll try to get done with the rest of this page. Okay, and then there's like a dot, a break in the paragraph. Okay, the opponents of the partition of Palestine into two separate independent democratic states usually point to the fact that this decision would, as they allege, be directed against the Arabs, against the Arab population in Palestine, and against the Arab states in general. This point of view is for reasons that will be readily understood, particularly emphasized by the delegations of the Arab countries. But the USSR delegation cannot concur in this view. Neither the proposal to partition Palestine into separate independent states, nor the decision of the ad hoc committee that was created at that session and which approved the proposal, which is now under discussion, is directed against the Arabs. This discussion is not directed either against the two national groups that inhabit Palestine. On the contrary, the USSR delegation holds that this decision corresponds to the fundamental national interest of both people, that is to say, to the interests of the Arabs as well as of the Jays. They've been trying to do this two-state solution for how long now? I mean, this book was written in 1975. It's literally 50 years ago. So you see, this is all mouth service. And these freaking people are full of actual shit. Anyways, the representatives of the Arab states claim that the partition of Palestine would be an historic injustice. But this view of the case is unacceptable, if only because, after all, the Jewish people has been closely linked with Palestine for a considerable period in history. No, y'all have not. You've been considerably linked with the Caucasus Mountains, Whitey. Apart from that, we must not overlook, and the USSR delegation drew attention to this circumstance originally at the special session of the General Assembly, we must not overlook the position in which the Jewish people have found themselves as a result of the recent World War. I shall not repeat what the USSR delegation said on this point at the special session of the General Assembly. However, it may not be amiss to remind my listeners again that as a result of the war, which was unleashed by the Austrian Painterreich Germany, the Jays as a people have suffered more than any other people. Fuck off with that. That is bullshit. No, you haven't. You know that there is not a single country in Western Europe which succeeded in adequately protecting the interests of the Jewish people against arbitrary acts of violence. Arbitrary! That's rich! You literally tried to destroy their country in World War I. Okay, you act like all of this J hatred just came out of a fucking vacuum. Like, wow, the unmitigated audacity. Lying liars, that's what they do. The solution of the Palestine problem based on a partition of Palestine into two separate states will be of profound historical significance because this decision will meet the legitimate demands of the Jewish people, hundreds of thousands of whom, as you know, are still without a country, without homes, having found temporary shelter in only special camps in some Western European countries. I shall not speak of the conditions in which these people are living. These conditions are well known. Quite a lot has been said on this subject by representatives who share the USSR's delegation point of view in this matter and which support the plan for partitioning Palestine into two states. Yeah, the Jays really didn't want that shit to happen. Anyways, I'm going to stop right there because that's a good stopping point. And then I'm going to try to upload this. And then I might do like, I don't know, a perfume video or something because, like I said, I finally got my mouillettes and I really want to like start reviewing because, buddy, we got some bottles to get through, bruh. Anyways, Aaron Mack, BS Detector, out. Thank you for listening to me read this portion of Schmayanism, a basic reader. And I'll check y'all later. See you in the next one. Please hit like, subscribe, all that good shit. Thank you. And if you like truth and you don't like bullshit, please stick around because I'm going to be doing more videos, whether I get 2 views or 2 million views. I'm here. I'm not going nowhere. Bye, y'all.